Hey, everybody out there. I'm your host. That's right. I'm back again. I'm your host, Jessica Couch, and this is Profound Professionals. It is the interview series that has been coming to you for 9 years now. We bring to you brilliant, beautiful, handsome, amazing, wonderful guests from all across our planet. These amazing, profound professionals can help improve your personal life or help you grow your business. And today I have the very special guest, David. And David is a man of many hats. Okay, so he's missing a hat today, but that's all right. We'll let him go with it. He's got so many hats, and he's following God's direction to encourage and assist others like you out there to live the lives that you were truly meant to live. And I think that that's something we all strive to do. I know one of the things I strive to do is be better today than I was yesterday, to live my absolute best, most wonderful, fullest life so that I can inspire others, hopefully for years to come, and leave a legacy. And I don't think we can do that unless we're living our best lives now. So our legacy creation starts right now, you guys. So welcome, David.
Thank you so much, Jessica. Happy to be here.
All right. So how did you become the guy wearing so many hats, helping people find that thing they were called to do and live the life that they were meant to live?
Well, it's been quite the journey. I'm the youngest of five, and was brought up in a household. My mom and dad were devout Catholics and just super into their faith. Lived a very modest lifestyle, and just kind of learned how important faith is in our lives. And unknowingly, adopted that, and it became such a big part of my life moving forward. Grew up working in the restaurant industry. I had kind of adopted the mentality that, you're kind of given, you're dealt a hand of cards, and that's what you got to play with, and that's life. And what I started to find was, there was a disconnection with that mentality. Yeah. And, I, throughout my restaurant career, we had, bought and owned a few restaurants, and I just wasn't happy. And I kept feeling like this tap on my shoulder, like there's something else out there for you. But I didn't, now I can articulate what that means. Back then I had no idea, other than it just felt like a lack of fulfillment, a lack of purpose, a lack of drive. In the process of that, met my wife. We had started our family together. And as you can imagine, the restaurant industry takes a toll on you. You have to be there every waking moment. So was owner operator of a pretty large restaurant here in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Was also running a food truck business on the side. So needless to say, I wasn't home at all. And that really started to become taxing on me as a man, as an individual. And also was just like, there's something else that needs to give, because I can't continue to do this every day. I want to be at home. I want to see my wife. I want to see our firstborn son, and something's got to change. And so I started, it's kind of where my journey really started, and I would say excelled. I went down the path of starting to get into investing, because you hear all these things. Well, if, I need to start building this passive income stream to where I don't have to be at the restaurant every day. I've got money coming in. The pressure is now off. So got into doing some tax lien investing. That was kind of a short little expedition, but I had gone to a conference just to kind of digest more about tax lien investing. And the presenter had referenced a book that kind of changed his life. And I know that's something that happens later in the show, but that is, from that moment on, was really something where a light bulb went off. And I started to realize, like, I don't have to be playing with this hand I was dealt, and that there's something else out there, and I can take control of that. Now, obviously my mindset has grown since then, but that's really when I started to make a change. And I had always been interested in real estate. Couldn't really put a finger on exactly how I was going to get into real estate, but I just knew it was something that felt exciting and energizing to me. So for a period of time, I would, I was working the restaurant. I would come home, get home at like 3:30 in the morning, would take online classes till about 5:30 in the morning, sleep for about an hour, get up with my kid, take care of him, get him off to the sitter, or wait for the sitter to come, and then I go and open the restaurant and do it all over again. And that just I killed myself really to make this transition. And
yeah, I don't think an hour of sleep is humanly possible. You can go bananas.
Yeah, you ask anybody that was close to me, and they literally were like, "You were a zombie. You looked terrible." And it was, but I was so convinced and committed to making this change in my life, and I felt that confident that the energy that I was feeling was something I needed to pursue. And so was, to kind of condense everything, got my real estate license, was doing both the restaurant full time and doing real estate part time. And I started to recognize the days I was getting up to do real estate, which was only one day a week, were super exciting and energizing for me. And the days I was getting up to go and open the restaurant and close it and do all that stuff, I was miserable. And that's when I was like, it's time. And so ended up transitioning from the restaurant. We sold the restaurant, got into real estate full time, and I really felt good. I felt for the first time like, look, God's guiding me. This is where God wants me to be. I'm in the real estate. I'm doing the thing. God wants me to be a real estate agent. And, through that, I'm, meeting people, starting to build this business, but I became very much a slave to success, and success just meaning that I outworked everybody. And I felt like I had to be the first person in the office. I had to be the last person to leave. I had to have more sales up on the board than anybody. And it was going through that I learned a lot. But at the same time, I started to recognize that it doesn't matter how much success I have or how many awards I win in real estate sales. It's not making me a better father at home. It's not giving me more time at home. And I was like, that was a falsehood that I told myself. And that's when I really started to recognize the interrelationship with my ego and myself, and that I was letting my ego take the wheel. So, and I'll try to kind of graze through this quickly so that we can, get to wherever you need to be. But I feel like a lot of this is very important.
Go ahead.
So as I sat and I continued to work on real estate sales and stuff, I had a very niche business focused with investors. And you start to have these guys that would come to me with looking to transition out of a place that they were unhappy and unfulfilled in, working a 9 to 5 or just in a different career that they just knew that real estate was for them. So I was very helpful and help instrument their journey into real estate. And, eventually I would watch these guys and ladies build these careers of starting from nothing and then leaving their jobs and doing these things. And so in a short period of time, I started to recognize like, maybe I'm on the wrong side of the table with real estate. And so I then at that point, I talked to my wife and we were running a real estate team together. But both she had lost her job and got into real estate, and that's a whole story for another day. But that's when we really started relying on our faith as to like where we need to go. And as both fully commissioned individuals, not getting a paycheck, there's no guarantee. We went through about 2.5 years of really just a really difficult time of not knowing where money was going to come from, not knowing how we were going to pay our bills. But I was committed enough because I knew what I felt and how I felt about the transition from the restaurant industry into real estate, that this is where I was supposed to be. And looking back now, I know exactly why I'm in real estate. And at the time I didn't. So fast forward, got involved with some investing, still do some sales. We built a real estate portfolio, mixed asset classes and things that, again, I thought was, oh, God he got me into real estate so I could transition into being an investor. That's what it was. Shame on me. Man plans, God laughs. You hear that all the time. And that couldn't be more accurate, and at least in my life. So in 2020, I'm driving down the road, and this is kind of where my story really changed and kind of got me to where I am today. I'm driving down the road, and I had this crazy sensation come over my body, these chills, just almost this out of body experience. And I see this clear picture of me sitting in a hospital room next to this individual who I had worked at a brokerage I was at prior to the brokerage I currently work at. And I had known through what people had shared with me, that this gentleman was in kidney failure, younger than I am, father of 2, had a 3rd kid on the way, and was in total kidney failure. And all I can tell you is I was so energized and excited when I saw this image of me sitting next to him. I knew at that moment that I was going to be giving him a kidney, and I knew nothing about my body at all. But I knew it was something based off of what I experienced that I needed to pursue. So I remember everything about the day, what I was wearing, where I was going. I pull into a parking lot to grab some lunch. My wife calls me, she's checking in, how's my day? And I was like, hey, how would you feel if I donated a kidney? And she's like, what? And she starts crying and I'm crying. And I'm like, look, I don't know what's going to come of it, but I just know what I experienced. And if that's not God speaking to me, then I don't know what is. So fast forward to 2020, September, I ended up going through all the testing, became an exact match for this individual. We went through the procedure, and he now is business partners with my wife. They run the real estate team together. They're doing well. He's doing well, still has his challenges. But it was in that moment that I recognized the way that God speaks to us and through us. And I started to recognize, like, I didn't get pulled into real estate because God wanted me to be a realtor or an investor. While they may be tools that I add to my tool belt that he's offered me and helped me see that I needed to meet, his name's Matt. I needed to meet Matt. And had I not been energized and excited to make this jump into real estate and go through the work, this connection never would have happened. Not saying that he wouldn't have found another donor, not saying that his story wouldn't have ended up the same, but I just know in that moment, I recognized that I had it all wrong. And that's really when I started to pay super close attention to what energized me. And when I felt energy, I knew without a doubt, I had to walk towards it. I need to not ask questions. And I started studying your brain and the mind and how powerful your subconscious is. And I started recognizing all of the things that us as individuals, as we grow, as you grow your business, as I'm growing mine, as I'm helping others, is like, we just need to get out of our own way. And we're allowing the things in our past experiences and the things we've programmed our minds to do rob us from God's calling and direction. So that's when I was, through enough conversations and enough people of like, I feel like I was given the key, the answer of like, you just got to find the place where you get energized and follow it, and don't follow it with expectations. I made the mistake of, I got energized by real estate. Okay, we'll move to the real estate square, step on that, put your blinders on and focus on being an agent. And that's when I realized that life is not like that. Life, God guides us with energy and tells us when we need to move. And generally we get presented with feelings of, it might start with a lack of fulfillment or just feeling off or a lack of happiness. And generally it's because we've become stagnant and we're not creating the movement that is required of us and requested of us by our creator. And so a lot of people just ignore it because, our subconscious wants us to be safe. We sit in a place where, yeah, life's not bad. Am I the happiest I could be? No, but I'm not going to sacrifice all the things I just built and the things that I do every day and the people that count on me just because I'm excited about something. Like, that seems foolish and it feels irresponsible. And that's when I made the choice and decided, like, no, like, God moves us through where we need to go. And I'm going to be obedient to where I feel that calling and that pulling. And that's part of the reason why I'm on this podcast with you today. There was a nudge one day of, you just need to sign up and find a way to start talking to people and I don't know who's listening to this, and maybe nobody ever hears this. With your exposure and your success, I'm sure at least one person will hear it.
That's not going to happen.
That was true, I know. Me trying to do it on my own and figure it out, I know I'm not there. I don't have the tools. I don't have the resources. And that's why I'm leaning on people such as you that have the experience, the gift, and the ability, because somebody today or will hear this recording and will not be able to articulate what they're feeling, but they're going to hear this and they're going to be, oh, that's exactly it. And it's going to put words to the thing that they've been experiencing, maybe for a month, maybe for a decade. I don't know. but every single one of us is being called to walk in a direction that God is guiding us. And it requires us to be obedient and cut through the noise of the world and what the world is expecting of you and requesting of you and telling you you need, and really figure out what that is for you. And that's kind of how I got to where I'm at today. I had enough people that, after going through my experience and kind of feeling like I'm working through understanding where happiness truly lies, I started encouraging people of when people would sit and call me, because I still feel like real estate is very important in my life for a number of reasons, but mainly because it becomes the magnet that brings people to me, because there's something that's attractive about, saying that you own X amount of properties, or you can build passive cash flow, or you can renovate properties. But what happens is when people get connected with me, we sit down, and generally the first question I ask is, what is it about real estate that you want to buy? What is this life that you think real estate is going to create for you? Because a lot of times, and I know from my own experience, I had assumed that if I bought and built a portfolio of X amount of properties, life would look like this, fill in the blank. And that's not how it is. Oftentimes we envision this life and we work towards it. We achieve the goal and it feels nothing like we thought it would. Or you get there and you don't even recognize you're there. So for me, it was, what is it that you think that life will be like? And how does that moment look? Get intimate with it. Like, get real dialed in and granular with, do you think it's going to give you more time with your family? Are you traveling? Is your health better? Because you might not need real estate. You might need something completely different, a nice blend of things. But most people have this desire and this feeling to reach out into a life that is different than what they're experiencing at the moment. And then they scroll, or they see online, or they read a book and they say, well, this guy built this real estate portfolio and he's traveling the world and that's what I'm going to do. And maybe it is for you. I don't know. But at the end of the day, everybody has a unique individualistic journey that they need to honor and respect. And that's where I come in to kind of help people decipher what that is, clear through the mess, clear through the programming, the things that they've told themselves, and just kind of figure out where the next step is. Because God gives us, in my opinion, and I'm sorry that I'm rambling, I get fired up about this stuff, but I personally believe that God gives us imagery of, I think back to when I was a kid. I'm a huge, huge lover of the water. It's peaceful, it's calming. I know a bunch of people are, but I know in my heart of hearts that something around water, and I don't know what that is yet, is very much a part of my future. And all of us have those things that when we see an image of it, our mind completely goes to a different place. We have very unabated thoughts that allow us to think very clearly, where we're drawing up thoughts from a place that is unlike our logic. We're not sitting here and deciding, is this an okay thing to like, or is it not? It's completely natural. And that's, again, where I come in, is help you get to that place, to help people understand, like, maybe I need to do a 180. Maybe it's just a 1 degree change. Everybody's journey is a little bit different. And I think a lot of people think that there's a one size fits all approach, and there's not. So that was a lot, and I apologize for rambling.
So you're coaching people to go and take the steps through a process to find that thing that connects and energizes them, so that they can begin to walk this new potential life. And when someone is thinking, okay, I'm not feeling fulfilled, something is missing, reaching out to David is a good idea at that point. First step for them is what? So where do they find you?
So I have a website, reflectivecoaching.com. Unfortunately, I'm not on social media. I've got my reasons for it. But generally, sending me a message through the website. And then honestly, from there, most of my clients at this point, I have had a pre-existing relationship with, and they start hearing what I do, or through word of mouth from other people. And that's kind of what's built it. So I'm a little bit more connected, just with my phone number, my email. But honestly, my website would be the best place.
Say the website one more time.
IEreflectivecoaching.com.
All right, IEreflectivecoaching.com. And when they get there, there's a place for them to email you or schedule a discovery call, or what's the best steps for them to take once they are on the site?
Yeah, on my site, there's a tab that allows you to book a discovery call.
Okay, great. Great. That's a good first step. Now, when someone decides this feels right and this feels good, and I'm excited to work with David and move forward, what are some of the ways you're working with them?
Well, really, it's trying to get to the starting point is really trying to understand where they're at, what feels off, and then from there, one of the biggest and greatest exercise that I went through with my coach a handful of years ago is really determining what values are most important to you. And then from there, once you start to understand the things that are important to you, are there ways as we build a life moving forward and identify, future targets, is there a way that we can introduce those values now so that it doesn't feel like you have to wait till you get to that mirage that's in the distance? Because there is no destination. Life is a journey, a continuous journey. And you need to make the most of it, as you say, every single moment of every single day, because you're not going to get to a place and you'll be like, all right, now I can rest. That's not how life works, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a good point. Now, when they are working with you, is it one-on-one? Is it virtual? Is it in person? I heard you say are you still in Lancaster, Pennsylvania area? Is it group sessions? Is it webinars? Is it online courses and video? What are the different ways and modalities that you're actually executing this relationship together?
So I've done a bit of everything, and I am doing a bit of everything. My personal favorite is, these conversations are great, because we make eye contact. You're a real person. I love in-person meetings. That's really where I feel dialed in, because and it works here, but you can tell the authenticity of what somebody is saying by their physiology and by how they respond in certain situations. So for me to be able to have that close proximity is huge. But I know some people have a hard time opening up individually. So I do group sessions. I had launched a few group courses, like it's just kind of like a starter, like predetermined, here's where we're going, kind of scratch the surface. One of my favorite things, and we didn't do it this fall because of timing. It's more of a fall type activity, but I love a bonfire and doing a fireside chat, because a lot of times I feel like, the lighting is great to where you don't feel like the spotlight's on you. You can feel comfortable because you're kind of in the shadows to open up. There's something about sitting around a fire that creates vulnerability, and doing it in a group setting creates the building rapport with each other, but more importantly, accountability and creating that sense of community. So I do a handful of different things, and I think every person's situation is a little bit different. I know that some people have come to me and they know exactly that they're ready for change. They know exactly that movement needs to happen and be created in their life, and they're ready to get to work. So an individual one-on-one session with them, or a series of them, works out really well. For people who are like, I hear what you're saying and something is just off in my life, sometimes group sessions are enough to sit there and help them blossom a little bit more and determine, like, okay, now I'm ready.
It ignites something, and then that's really cool. All right. Well, we're going to move on to our tip section. So we're going to give everyone a super valuable tip that they can use today that will make their lives better than it was yesterday. Before we do that, I'm going to share a tip with you. I actually have a really dear and wonderful friend who lives in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and we go see the fireworks often. We take the trip in 4th of July and go see them. We've seen them at Lidditz many times. Have you been to the Lidditz fireworks show?
Yep.
Her name is Melissa Boots, and she is an excellent real estate agent. So if you ever collaborate, partner, or work with other agents in your area, she is the most caring, God-led, amazing human that I know. And the other thing I would say is, because of some of the work, travel, and things I've done in my lifetime, I actually was a member of the Lancaster Chamber before, and I have been a member participating in chambers all over the United States and different parts of the country in the course of my speaking career and business career when I was working for other corporate organizations, and still involved in chambers now. And I'll tell you, the Lancaster Chamber is one of the very, very best. Are you part of that one? If you're not, that's a super wonderful one. If you're not anti-chamber, I know everyone has opinion on chambers of commerce, but at the time that I was there, it was one of the best I had ever been involved in. Now, culture and climate and personalities and leadership change, and that can change that. But that was my experience, that it was super great. So those are my tips for the guests today. They're a little unusual and unorthodox, but I'll share those with you. And if you could share one with our audience, that'd be great.
Honestly, I think it's, in order to find growth and the things that really drive you, you got to get quiet. And not everybody drives that will listen to this, but everybody can carve out 15 minutes a day to where they don't have noise playing. And you don't need to be listening to music. You don't need to be putting a podcast on. Just give yourself the space to let things surface. And too often we feel the need of, I'm not doing anything. I got to do something. Got to find stimulation. And you scroll or you listen or whatever. And if you want to find connection in life and you want to find the truest version of yourself and happiness, you got to start with just introduction of just a little bit of silence each day, even if it's 5 minutes. It's amazing what it'll do over a consistent period of time.
Gives a whole new value to noise canceling headphones, doesn't it? You know, you could give those as a Christmas gift this year, or for a gift any time of the year, with a little note with it. You know, spend a little time with the man upstairs, and just a bit of time in silence, you know, does a world of good for all of us. It's supposed to be super healthy too. Like, there's all these studies and things on it, on how it can do so much more for you. I love that tip. You know, sit with the silence. That is wonderful. One of the things I'm very proud of in the 9 years that we've been doing our show is we've always featured and taken a moment to spread awareness and hopefully inspire someone out there. That's right, maybe you, that's listening, to give time, a treasure, or talent to a cause that maybe our guest shares, or maybe you just remember there's a cause close to your heart and you hadn't taken a moment lately because life just got busy, to see what they need or reach out to them and reconnect with them. But let's inspire someone today and spread some awareness about some great causes. David, what do you have?
So this is a nonprofit that's local to Lancaster. It's a small little nonprofit called Impact Missions. They do fantastic work. I, again, was a group that I met through real estate. What they do is they raise money through grants as well as some other project houses to help keep people from being homeless. So individuals who are in danger of losing their property, mainly due to repair issues, this mission comes in and they walk into the home, they fund the repair, they work with the homeowner if they need to find transitional housing, but they work to make sure that the house becomes safe and secure, warm and dry. And they've been doing it for a number of years. They fly under the radar. A lot of people know, like, the Habitats for Humanity and those kind of things. This organization is making a very large impact in Lancaster.
Oh, I love that. That's awesome. So you might want to roll up your sleeves and swing a hammer and help out in some way, or share some treasure, or just spread some awareness about it. You heard about it here, and maybe make a post or reach out, or maybe see if there's something like that in your neck of the woods, if that appeals to you, wherever you're living. So thanks for sharing that with us, David. We'll make sure we have it in the article and all the places we post things, so that we can encourage people to check out that cause. All right, I am a little bit of a book lover, if you haven't noticed. All of my amazing books behind me, and I have so many more in my house, in my retirement home, in my vision, and in my mind. Actually, which is by the ocean, by the way. there'll be a library, you know, the kind with the rolly ladder and the spinny cast iron spiral staircase, you know, and maybe a big fireplace. Who knows? But I would love to hear a book that inspired your personal life or helped you grow your business.
So as I mentioned before, that book would have came into my life when I was in the back in the restaurant industry, and it was What to Say When You Talk to Yourself by Dr. Shad Helmstetter. I'm probably mispronouncing his name or butchering, so
that's okay.
Sorry. But that's really when I got clued into the internal dialogue and understanding that really the power of the subconscious and understanding the difference between and where, again, a lot of the work that I do plays off of that is who's talking. Are you following God's direction, or is that your programmed mind that's telling you where to go next? So that book, phenomenal, easy read. And it was probably one of the biggest light bulb moments in my life.
I love that. I love that. Yes, inspirational books and self-help and just books in general are just so wonderful and such a great way to leave a legacy and touch someone's life long after you're gone. So, you know, if you're thinking about writing a book, put some down on paper. You just might inspire someone now or much, much later. It has been awesome having you on the show, David. Thank you so much for spending this time with me and sharing your journey and your story. I've enjoyed listening very much.
Thank you, Jessica. This has been awesome.
All right, out there, if you're thinking, but wait, I have brilliant things to share. I can tell you about my life and how I transfer other people's lives. I can help people have the best version of their life in their personal life. I can help people blow up their business and make so many resources that they can share with others with great prosperity and abundance. If that's you, and if you've written books or you've got programs or you have things to share, well, then maybe you should be featured on our show. Just reach out to us and our team and we'll let you know just how to get that set up. But before we say goodbye for today, I would love David to share a final thought, some inspiration or information as we go.
Honestly, I think we live in a world that is a very difficult world to live in. Not saying that people didn't have difficulties in the past or whatever, but unintentionally, if you are not careful, the world will dictate where you go. So I think it is super, super important for people to understand who they truly are at their core. If they want to live the best life that they can possibly live and the life that God wants them to live, they have to dial in and know who they are so that when they go out into the world, they can become unshakable. Because otherwise you end up adopting somebody else's story, their opinions, and your thoughts become thoughts that aren't even yours. So get 100% confident in who you are at your core and just know that God is walking with you every single step of the way. Good times, bad times, life is going to be difficult. And we've got two choices. Do you quit or you just keep pushing? And my request, and I encourage everybody to just keep pushing because you're greater than you know, and you're capable of way more than you know.
I love that. You're greater than you know, and you're way more capable than you know. That I love that. I wish I had it memorized, but there's a Winnie the Pooh Bear poem that goes something along those lines. Believe it or not, I'll have to find it and put it in the comments later. Well, this has been fantastic. And thank you again, David, for your wise words and just the wonderful energy you brought to today's show. I am your host, Jessica Koch. This is Profound Professionals. And until the next time, everybody, be kind to yourself out there and be kind to each other. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Jessica.